The wind screamed across the ice plains like a wounded animal. Taman pulled his thermal coat tighter and checked the weather monitor inside his tent one more time. The storm was getting worse. Much worse. Red warnings flashed across the small screen telling him what he already knew. He should have left for the main research station yesterday. Too late now. The storm had arrived early and travel was impossible. The ice planet Kirill 7 was brutal on good days. During a storm like this, it became a frozen hell that could kill in minutes. Taman sealed the tent's inner airlock and cranked up the heating unit. At least he had supplies. At least he was safe inside. He was preparing a meal when he heard the sound. A thump against the outer tent wall, probably just ice debris thrown by the wind. The storm was strong enough to hurl chunks of frozen rock around like toys. He ignored it and stirred his soup. Another thump. Heavier this time. Different. Taman frowned and checked his external sensors. The small screen showed a heat signature outside. Something alive. Something dying. His training screamed at him to stay inside. Protocol was clear about unauthorized contact with unknown species. But Taman had never been good at following rules when someone needed help. He grabbed his emergency kit and cycled through the airlock. The cold hit him like a physical blow even through his protective gear. The wind tried to knock him down. Ice particles stung any exposed skin. He could barely see 3 feet ahead through the white chaos. But the sensors pointed him in the right direction. She was collapsed against the side of his tent. Blue skin covered in strange glowing marks that pulsed weakly. Her environmental suit was torn along one side, frost already forming on the damaged area. Alien definitely, but humanoid enough that Taman could see she was in serious trouble. She was shivering so violently her whole body shook. He did not think. He just acted. Taman grabbed her under the arms and dragged her toward the airlock. She was lighter than he expected. Too light. He could feel her trembling through both their suits. Her eyes opened briefly, pale and unfocused, before closing again. Getting her through the airlock was a struggle. She could not help him. Taman had to support all her weight while working the controls with one hand. Finally, the inner door opened and warm air rushed out. He pulled her inside and laid her on his sleeping mat. Her suit was damaged but still partially functional. He managed to get it off without making things worse. Underneath, she wore something like a thin bodysuit. Her blue skin was decorated with bioluminescent patterns that glowed softly, pretty in a strange way, but right now those patterns were flickering like dying lights. Taman wrapped every thermal blanket he had around her. He cranked the heating unit to maximum. She was still shaking. Her body temperature was dropping too fast. He grabbed his medical scanner and ran it over her. The device tried to analyze her biology but kept giving error messages. She was too different from any species in its database. Her eyes opened. They focused on him with sudden intensity. She reached out with one hand and grabbed his arm. Her grip was weak but desperate. She said something in a language he did not know. It sounded musical and urgent at the same time. "It's okay," Taman said, even though she probably could not understand him. "You're safe now. Just rest." She shook her head violently. She pulled on his arm, trying to bring him closer. Her other hand touched his chest right over his heart. She kept saying something over and over. The same words again and again. Taman's translator device sat on the nearby table. He grabbed it and clipped it to his collar. "Try again," he said. She spoke again. The device hummed and beeped, working to decode her language. It was not instant. The software needed time to build a translation matrix. But slowly words started forming. Warm, need, warm. That made sense. She was freezing. Her species must be vulnerable to cold. Taman added another blanket. "The tent is heating up. You'll be warm soon." She shook her head again, more frustrated this time. Her hand pressed harder against his chest. Oh, she wanted his body heat. That was awkward, but Taman understood. Humans ran hot compared to many alien species. His body temperature was probably higher than anything else in the tent except the heating unit itself. And unlike the heating unit, he could move around with her. "Okay," he said. "I understand." He sat down next to her and let her press close. She immediately wrapped herself around him like he was a living heater. Her arms went around his torso. Her head pressed against his chest. Her whole body shook against his. Taman tried to stay professional. This was a medical emergency. Nothing weird about it, just one sentient being helping another survive. He kept his arms at his sides at first, but when she whimpered and tried to get even closer, He gave up and put his arms around her. Body heat transfer would work better that way anyway. Minutes passed. Her shivering slowly decreased. The bioluminescent patterns on her skin started glowing steadier. That seemed like a good sign. Taemin's translator kept working in the background, gathering more data from her occasional words. "What's your name?" he asked. "I'm Taemin." She looked up at him. Her eyes were completely different from human eyes, larger with no visible pupil, but somehow he could still read the fear in them. And something else. "Determination, Nari," the translator said after she spoke. "Name, Nari." "Nice to meet you, Nari, though I wish it was under better circumstances." She said something longer. The translator struggled with it, only catching fragments. "Ship, crashed, running." "They follow." That did not sound good. "Someone is following you?" She nodded. Her hand stayed pressed against his chest. She kept touching his heart area specifically, which was strange. Maybe it was a cultural thing. Or maybe the warmth was strongest there. The storm howled outside. The tent shook but held firm. Taemin's equipment was good quality. They would be safe until the storm passed. Then he could contact the main station and figure out what to do about his unexpected guest. Nari spoke again. This time the translator caught more words. "Data. Important. Millions die. Must protect." "Slow down," Taemin said. "You're safe here. Rest first. We can talk when you're stronger." But Nari shook her head. She pulled back slightly and looked directly into his eyes. Her expression was intense. She spoke slowly and clearly. The translator worked hard to catch every word. "Your heart," it finally said. "I need your heart." Taemin froze. His heart? That was a concerning thing to hear from an alien he just rescued. Maybe the translator was making a mistake. Maybe she meant something else. He really hoped she meant something else. "My heart," he said carefully. She nodded. Her hand pressed against his chest again. "Your heart. Must stay. Near your heart, please. Everything depends." The translator beeped. It had gathered enough data to improve accuracy. New words appeared on its screen. Correction: heart rhythm. Heart pattern. Cardiovascular function. That was only slightly less concerning. Taemin looked down at the alien woman wrapped around him. Outside, the storm raged. Inside, his unexpected guest was saying she needed his heart rhythm for some reason. And apparently millions of lives depended on it. This was going to be a long night. Nari's people had a word for beings who accomplished the impossible through sheer determination. They called Su. The harness was crude but functional. Taemin had built it from tent straps, climbing rope, and thermal fabric. It kept Nari secured to his back while leaving his hands mostly free. She could feel his heartbeat through the layers of fabric. The crystal remained stable. That was all that mattered. "How does it feel?" Taemin asked as he adjusted the straps one more time. "Strange. Like being carried as a child, but more secure." Nari wrapped her arms around his shoulders. "You're sure you can walk 20 kilometers like this?" "I've done worse." He picked up his pack of supplies. "There was a training exercise once where we had to carry wounded soldiers through mountain terrain. This is basically the same thing, except you're conscious and the mountain is made of ice, and there are still krill hunting us. There's always something." Taemin checked his sensors one last time. The storm was dying. Visibility was improving. The krill would be regrouping soon. Time to move. The journey started simple enough. The terrain near the camp was relatively flat. Taemin set a steady pace. Not too fast. He needed to conserve energy. 20 kilometers was a long way to walk while carrying another person, even a light person like Nari. "Tell me about your world," Taemin said as they walked. Talking helped distract from the cold and the exhaustion. "Valeria. What's it like?" "Warm," Nari said immediately. "Very warm compared to this. Our sun is close and bright. We have 3 moons. The cities are built in layers reaching up toward the sky. We love vertical architecture. No wars? Really, never? Not for 3,000 years. We had wars in our ancient past. We nearly destroyed ourselves. Then we chose a different path. We became students of the universe instead of conquerors." Taemin was quiet for a moment. "That must be nice. Your people don't have that?" "We barely stopped having major wars 70 years ago. We still have small ones. Still fight over resources and beliefs and borders." He climbed over a ridge of ice. Nari moved with him, trying to match his rhythm. "We're trying to be better. But it's hard. Violence is in our nature, and that's sad. Maybe. But it's also why I can protect you." Why, I knew how to fight those krill. Evolution made us survivors. Good at violence because we needed to be. He pointed ahead. See those crystal formations? We need to go around them. The local wildlife uses them as ambush points. Wildlife? In this cold? Life finds a way. Even here. As if on cue, something moved between the crystals. Something large and white. Taman changed direction without breaking stride. Ice stalkers, predators. They sense vibrations through the ground. As long as we keep moving and don't threaten them, they'll leave us alone. Nari watched the creature. It looked like a bear made of ice and rage. What if they don't leave us alone? Then I have this. Taman patted the emergency flare gun on his belt. One shot. Makes a lot of light and heat. Should scare them off. Should? Probably. Maybe. We'll find out if we need to. They walked in silence for a while. The ice plain stretched endlessly in all directions. White ground. White sky. Everything white and cold and empty. Nari found it beautiful in a hostile way, like the universe showing off how indifferent it could be to life. The crystal is still stable, she reported. Your heart rhythm is actually quite soothing. Very regular, very strong. All that cardio training. My supervisor always said I exercised too much. Guess it's paying off now. Taman climbed down into a shallow valley. How long until we can extract it? We need a medical facility with proper equipment. The crystal is grown into my biological structure. Removing it improperly would kill me and destroy the data. The main station has a medical bay? Yes, a good one. We get injuries out here, equipment accidents, wildlife attacks, extreme weather exposure. He helped her navigate around a field of sharp ice spikes. Your people don't have doctors for trauma? We have doctors for illness and age-related issues. But trauma from violence? We haven't needed those specialties in millennia. She paused. I'm starting to realize how sheltered we've been. The galaxy is more dangerous than we knew. The galaxy is exactly as dangerous as it's always been. Your people just had the luxury of avoiding the bad parts. Taman's voice was gentle despite the harsh words. Now you're learning what the rest of us already knew. They stopped at the 6-kilometer mark. Taman needed rest. Even human endurance had limits. He sat down carefully, mindful of Nari still attached to his back. She shifted to sit beside him, maintaining contact with her arms around his shoulders. Drink, he said, passing her a water bottle. Stay hydrated. You're taking care of me like I'm fragile. You are fragile. Your species is built for warm climates and peaceful environments. You're completely out of your element here. He drank from his own bottle. No shame in that. Everyone is fragile somewhere. Nari thought about that while she drank. Are you ever fragile? All the time. I just don't show it. Taman checked his sensors. The krill are moving. 2 heat signatures. Mobile and tracking. They've recovered faster than I hoped. Can we outrun them? Not a chance. They're faster than us. Better equipped for the environment. He stood up. The movement pulled Nari up with him. But we don't need to outrun them. We just need to reach the canyon. What canyon? You'll see. Come on. The next 8 kilometers were harder. The terrain became rougher. More ridges to climb. More valleys to cross. Taman's legs burned. His back ached from Nari's weight, but he kept moving. 1 foot in front of the other. Step after step. Kilometer after kilometer. Nari could feel his exhaustion. His heart rate had increased. His breathing was heavier. But his rhythm never faltered. Never broke. He was pushing through pain and fatigue through sheer willpower. You're hurting, she said. I can tell. I'm fine. You're not fine. You're pushing yourself too hard. I'm pushing myself exactly as hard as I need to. Taman climbed another ridge. This is what humans do. We push, we endure. We keep going when we should quit. It's our specialty. That's not healthy. Never said it was. But it keeps us alive, he pointed ahead. There, the canyon. Nari looked. Her breath caught. The ice plain ended abruptly in a massive crack in the planet's surface. The canyon was deep and wide. Very deep, very wide. And on the far side, maybe 200 meters away, she could see buildings. The research station. How do we cross? She asked, though she dreaded the answer. Taman studied the canyon. The old bridge that used to span it was gone. Destroyed by ice movement or storms, but the anchor points remained on both sides. Strong metal posts driven deep into the bedrock. I have climbing rope, he said slowly. And I have an idea. I'm not going to like it, am I? Definitely not. Taman was already unpacking his rope. We're going to swing across. Like a pendulum. I'll tie us to the anchor point, we run forward and let momentum carry us to the other side. Nari stared at him. That's insane. The distance is too far. We're too heavy together. The rope could break. We could miss the other side. We could die 100 different ways. Yep. All of that is true. Taman was rigging the rope system. But it's also possible that it works. And possible is all we need. This is why the galaxy thinks humans are crazy. The galaxy is correct. He finished the rigging, tested it, nodded with satisfaction. Okay, here's how this works. I run forward. You hold on tight. When I jump, we swing. The arc should carry us across. When we reach the far side, I grab the anchor point there. We climb up, simple. None of that is simple. Sure it is. Jump, swing, grab, climb. 4 easy steps. Taman positioned them at the starting point. Trust me. Why would I trust you? This is the most dangerous thing I've ever heard, because 20 minutes ago you saw 2 krill heat signatures tracking us. Now I see 4. They found the 4th one. All of them are coming, and they're only 3 kilometers behind us. Taman looked at her seriously. We can try the crazy swing across a deadly canyon, or we can stand here and wait for the heavily armed mercenaries who want to kill you and steal your data. Which sounds better? Nari looked back. She could not see the krill yet, but she trusted his sensors. 4 of them, all hunting her, all wanting to take the crystal that could save billions of lives. She looked at the canyon, looked at the distant station on the far side, looked at the human who had protected her against impossible odds. You're absolutely insane, she said. I know. Hold tight. Taman began to run. Nari held on with everything she had. Taman's feet pounded against the ice, faster and faster. The canyon edge rushed toward them. She wanted to close her eyes, wanted to scream, but she kept them open, kept silent. If he could be brave, so could she. They reached the edge. Taman jumped. For one terrible moment they fell. Then the rope caught. They swung out over the abyss. The world became a blur of white and gray and distant rocks far below. The wind screamed. The rope sang with tension. Taman's heart pounded against her chest. The far side approached. Taman reached out. His hand caught the anchor point. His fingers closed around metal. The momentum tried to tear them loose. His shoulder took the impact with a sound that Nari heard even over the wind. But he held on. He did not let go. They slammed into the canyon wall. Taman's body took most of the impact. Nari heard him grunt in pain. But still he held on. With his free hand he grabbed an ice ledge. Started climbing. 1 pull at a time. 1 meter at a time. Taman stared at the translator display. Heart pattern. Cardiovascular function. That was better than Nari wanting his actual heart, but only slightly. He was still very confused and getting more uncomfortable by the second. Why do you need my heart rhythm? He asked. I don't understand. Nari took a breath and started explaining. Her words came faster now as the translator built a better understanding of her language. She spoke in short bursts, pausing to make sure the device caught everything. She was a scientist from a planet called Valaria. Her people studied diseases. 3 months ago, a terrible plague broke out on the outer colonies. It spread fast. It killed millions. Her team discovered the plague was not natural. Someone made it, weaponized it. The Krill Syndicate, criminals who sold weapons and diseases to the highest bidder. Nari's team found a cure. They also found proof of who created the plague and why. Evidence that would expose a conspiracy reaching into the highest levels of the Galactic Council. Some council members had paid the Krill to develop population control weapons. The plague had escaped their control and now threatened dozens of worlds. We couldn't send the data normally, Nari explained through the translator. They were watching all transmissions, listening to everything. I volunteered to carry it physically. On a data drive? Taman asked. No, in me. Nari placed her hand over her side just below her ribs. We have biocrystal storage. It grows inside the body, near the secondary circulatory organ. It's safe there, protected, encrypted to my biological signature. Taman was starting to understand, but something went wrong. They found me, attacked my ship. I barely escaped in a pod, but the crash damaged my suit and, she paused, struggling with the words, and injured my secondary organ, the one that keeps the crystal stable. What does the crystal need to stay stable? Specific temperature, specific rhythm, specific vibration frequency. Nari looked at him intently. My secondary organ provided all of that. But it's damaged. Failing. The crystal will degrade in hours without the right environment. All the data will be lost, the cure, the evidence, everything. Taman felt a cold weight in his stomach that had nothing to do with the storm outside. And you need my heart because your species is compatible. Nari's bioluminescent patterns pulsed brighter with urgency. We studied humans. Your cardiovascular system operates at the right frequency. Your body temperature is perfect. Your chest provides the right vibration environment. Of all the species in this sector, only humans can keep the crystal stable. How long? 48 hours minimum. Then we can extract it properly with the right medical equipment. 48 hours. 2 full days of being physically attached to an alien woman, so her biocrystal data storage would not self-destruct. Taman looked at Nari, still wrapped in his blankets, still pressed against his chest. This was insane. This had to violate about 20 different protocols. His supervisors would have a fit, but billions of lives. A cure for a plague. Evidence of a massive conspiracy. Could he really say no to that? Okay, he said. What do I need to do? Relief washed over Nari's face. Her patterns glowed steady and bright. Just stay close. The crystal needs to remain within inches of your heart. If the distance becomes too great for too long, the data degrades irreversibly. How long is too long? More than 30 seconds causes damage. More than 2 minutes causes complete loss. Great. So he could not even go to the bathroom without careful planning. This was going to be interesting. Taman shifted his position, trying to get more comfortable. Nari moved with him, maintaining contact. There's something else, she said quietly. The krill who attacked me. They're still hunting. They tracked my pod here. Taman felt his blood run cold for a different reason now. They followed you to my camp? I crashed several miles away. Tried to move in a different direction to lead them away from you. But the storm hit and I couldn't make it. I'm sorry. I didn't want to bring danger to anyone, but I had no choice. Before Taman could respond, his sensors beeped. He reached for the monitor with his free hand, careful not to move too far from Nari. The screen showed a new contact. Something large had landed about half a mile from his tent. Engine signature consistent with a medium scout craft. They're here, Nari whispered. She grabbed his arm. They'll scan for my biosignature. Find us within minutes. Taman's mind raced. His tent was designed for weather and wildlife, not military assault. He had some defensive options, but nothing serious. His communication array was down because of the storm. He could not call for help. Could not warn the main station. He and Nari were completely alone. The human looked around his small space, taking inventory. Survey equipment, geological scanners, sample collectors, heating units, power cells. Not exactly an arsenal, but maybe it did not need to be. He knew this planet. He knew the weather patterns and the terrain. He knew his equipment inside and out, and he knew something else. Something that made his lips curl into a slight smile despite the danger. The krill were about to learn why humans had a reputation in certain circles. A reputation for being stubborn, crazy, and very hard to kill. How many are hunting you? He asked. 3, maybe 4. Small team. They think one injured scientist will be easy prey. They think wrong. Taman gently moved Nari so she was sitting behind him, arms around his waist from the back. Hold on tight. Don't let go no matter what happens. Can you do that? She nodded against his back. What are you going to do? Something really stupid, Taman said. Which means it might actually work. He started pulling equipment down from storage. His geological seismic charge launcher, used normally to test ice density, could be repurposed. His atmospheric analyzer could vent or flood areas with different gases. His emergency thermal barriers could be positioned as cover. His sample collection spray that instantly froze whatever it touched for preservation definitely could be weaponized. Nari watched him work. You're going to fight them? I'm going to make them regret coming here. Taman checked his power cells. Full charge, good. Your people, the Valerians, are you fighters? No, we're peaceful. We study, we learn. We've had no wars for thousands of years. Figures. Taman strapped equipment to his belt and arms. And the krill? Mercenaries, hunters, they're good at tracking and killing. They're very dangerous. So am I. Taman looked back at her. I need you to understand something. Humans are not peaceful. We fight a lot. We've been fighting each other and everything else for our entire existence. We're really, really good at it. Those krill out there? They're about to find out why you don't corner a human. His sensors beeped again. The krill craft was moving, coming closer, scanning. Taman watched the screen and calculated angles and distances. The storm was actually helping. It would mask their movements and reduce the effectiveness of long-range sensors. They're splitting up, Nari said, reading the screen over his shoulder. Standard search pattern. Good. Easier to handle them one at a time. Taman finished his preparations. Remember, stay close. Don't let go. If I tell you to do something, do it immediately. No questions. Understand? I understand. Her arms tightened around him. Taman, thank you. For helping me, for risking yourself. Thank me when we survive. He picked up his jury-rigged weapons and moved to the tent entrance. Now let's go teach some krill hunters about human hospitality. I'm pretty sure they're going to hate it. Outside, the storm continued to rage. But inside the tent, something more dangerous was preparing to venture out. Something the krill had not counted on when they decided to hunt on this frozen rock. They had expected an easy target. What they were going to get was a very angry human protecting something important. The krill were about to have a very bad day. The main research station was built into the ice itself, a small facility with about 20 staff. When Taman and Nari stumbled through the outer airlock covered in frost and exhausted, the reaction was immediate chaos. Taman, a woman in medical whites, rushed forward. Jiwan, the station's doctor? What happened? You look like you went through a grinder. And who is? She stopped when she saw Nari, saw the blue skin and the bioluminescent patterns. Oh, wow. That's an alien. That's a real alien. We have protocols for this. I need to... Someone called Director Minho. No time for protocols, Taman said. He was swaying on his feet. The swing across the canyon had done something bad to his shoulder. Maybe dislocated it. Maybe broken. Pain radiated down his arm. Medical emergency. She has a biocrystal implant that needs extraction. I need to stay within contact distance or the data degrades. Also, there are 4 krill mercenaries who might find a way across that canyon, so we need security. Jiwan blinked. That's a lot of information, I'm aware. Can you help or not? I can help. Come on. Jiwan led them quickly through the corridors. What kind of crystal? What data? What species is she? Valerian. The crystal contains cure data for a plague and evidence of a conspiracy. Taman winced as Nari shifted weight and jarred his shoulder. Long story. Very important. Billions of lives. Can you extract biocrystals? I've never done it, but I have the equipment and I'm a fast learner. They reached the medical bay. Jiwan started pulling up reference materials on alien biology. If she can guide me through it, I can do it. But you said you need to stay close? Very close. The crystal is keyed to specific heart rhythms. Human rhythms work. Mine specifically has been keeping it stable. Taman sat on a medical chair. Nari remained attached to his back. How long for the extraction? If everything goes perfect, 2 hours. More realistically, 3 or 4. We don't have 4 hours. A new voice spoke from the doorway. A man in security uniform. Commander Hyun. I just got a report from our perimeter sensors. There's a small craft approaching. It's not responding to hails. Looks military. Krill, Nari said quietly. They found another way around. Hyun studied her, then looked at Taman. You brought hostile aliens to our station? I brought a refugee carrying critical data. The hostiles followed. Taman met his gaze steadily, and I'd do it again. The data she carries can save billions of lives across multiple worlds. Director Minho needs to make this call. This is way above my pay grade. Hyun turned to leave. Wait. Taman stood up. The movement made his vision swim. How many security personnel do you have? 6, counting me. What kind of weapons? Non-lethal crowd control. Stun battens. Some riot foam. We're a research station, not a military base. Hyun frowned. Why? Because 4 krill professional mercenaries are about to assault this station. You're outnumbered and outgunned. Taman thought fast. What about defensive positions? Choke points? Some. The station has security doors. We can seal sections. Hyun was starting to look worried. You really think they'll attack? They tracked her across an ice planet through a storm. Attacked my camp. Chased us 20 kilometers. Yes, I think they'll attack. Taman turned to Jiwan. Start the extraction procedure. Get Nari prepped. I need to help with the defense. You can barely stand, Jiwan protested. Your shoulder is badly injured. You need treatment. After. First we survive. He looked at Nari. Can the crystal remain stable if I'm moving around? Fighting. As long as you're within range and your heart rhythm stays consistent. But if you're injured badly, if you go into shock, if your heart stops. She touched his chest. Please be careful. Always am. It was a lie and they both knew it. Director Minho arrived then. A middle-aged man who looked perpetually worried. Right now he looked extra worried. Someone explain what's happening, quickly. They explained. Fast and efficient. Minho's expression went from worried to terrified to determined in about 90 seconds. Right, he said. Jawan, start the extraction. Commander Hyun, initiate Defense Protocol 3. Seal all non-essential sections. Get everyone to the central hub. Taemin, he paused. You look like you should be in a hospital bed. Later. Where do you need me? You're a xenobiologist, not a soldier. Today I'm whatever you need me to be. Taemin moved toward the door. Nari moved with him, still connected. I know how the Krill operate. I fought them already. Use me or don't, but make a decision fast. Minho made the decision. Help Hyun. Give him whatever tactical advice you can. But the moment that crystal is extracted, you get medical treatment. That's an order. The next hour was a blur of preparation. Hyun's security team set up defensive positions. Taemin advised on where and how. He explained Krill tactics. Explained their weapons. Explained their weaknesses. They're used to being the strongest thing in the room, he said. They expect intimidation to work. When it doesn't, they get frustrated. Make mistakes. Use that. How do you know all this? Hyun asked. I read a lot. And I pay attention. Taemin helped position a riot foam dispenser at a choke point. Also, I spent the last day making their lives miserable. You learn a lot about someone when you're trying to kill each other. The Krill craft landed. 4 figures emerged. Big, armored, armed. They approached the station's main entrance. Hyun tried to communicate, offered to negotiate. The Krill response was to blast the door with plasma fire. So much for diplomacy, Hyun muttered. He activated the first defense. Heavy security doors slammed down, cutting off the entrance. That'll hold them for maybe 10 minutes. Good. Makes them think we're scared. Buying time. Taemin watched the monitors. When they breach, they'll expect us to be backed into the central hub. Instead, we hit them from the sides. We're not soldiers, neither was I yesterday. But we adapt. That's what we do. In the medical bay, Ji-won was working carefully on Nari. The Valarian guided her through the procedure, explaining her species biology, showing her where the crystal was embedded. It was delicate work. One wrong cut and the crystal would be destroyed. One wrong move and Nari would die. Your people are so different from mine, Nari said as the anesthetic took effect in her side. You fight so easily, so naturally. We've had a lot of practice, Ji-won said. Thousands of years of practice. Sometimes I wonder if we'll ever really move past it. But you also help so easily. Taemin could have left me to die in the storm. He didn't. You could have turned me away from your station. You didn't. Your species is walking contradictions. Welcome to humanity. Ji-won made a careful incision. We contain multitudes. The Krill breached the first security door. Took them 8 minutes instead of 10. They moved into the station in a coordinated formation. Professional, efficient, deadly. They did not expect the foam. Hyun triggered dispensers from the side corridors. Riot foam expanded rapidly, filling the space. 2 Krill were caught in it. The foam hardened around them, trapping them in place. The other 2 reacted fast. Burned through the foam with plasma fire. Freed their companions. They were adapting, learning. They split up. Started clearing the station methodically. Taemin watched from a monitor. They're good. We're in trouble, Hyun said. Maybe, maybe not. Taemin pointed at the screen. See how they're moving? Standard military clearance pattern. Very predictable. They'll come through this corridor next. So we don't be where they expect. Taemin grabbed a stun baton. Follow me. They used the station's maintenance tunnels. Came up behind the Krill team. It was not a fair fight. The Krill were bigger, stronger, better armed. But Hyun's people were defending their home. And they had Taemin, who was apparently incapable of fighting fairly. He tripped the first Krill with a maintenance cable, hit it with the stun baton while it was down. The electric shock did not hurt the alien much through its armor, but it surprised it. That moment of surprise let 2 security officers hit it with more foam. The second Krill turned to help its companion. Found Hyun behind it with another baton, this one modified to deliver a much stronger charge. The krill's armor sparked. It staggered. Now, Taemin shouted. The security team dogpiled the krill. It was not dignified. It was not clean. But it worked. Weight and numbers brought the alien down. More foam, more stun batons. The krill stopped moving, 2 down. 2 to go. In the medical bay, Ji-won made the final cut. The crystal came free, small and glowing, beautiful and deadly. She placed it carefully in a stabilization unit. The device hummed. Confirmed the data was intact. Done, Ji-won said. Nari, you're going to be okay. The crystal is safe. Nari smiled weakly. Thank you. And thank Taemin. Tell him he can rest now. I'll tell him. Ji-won sealed the incision. Right after I yell at him for not taking care of himself. The last 2 krill were cornered in a storage bay. They had weapons. They had armor. But they were trapped, surrounded. Hyun called for surrender. The krill's response was predictable. More violence. Taemin was tired. So tired his shoulder hurt. His legs hurt. Everything hurt. But he kept moving. Kept thinking. There had to be a way to end this without anyone dying. Even the krill. They were just following orders. Just doing a job. The atmospheric controls, he said suddenly. Can we vent this room? Vent to outside? They'd freeze, but so would anyone in there, Hyun said. Not to outside. To the cold storage bay. Same effect, but not lethal. The krill will pass out from cold exposure. The first krill made the mistake of approaching alone. Taemin watched through his sensors as the heat signature moved through the storm. The alien was confident, moving in a straight line toward the tent. Probably expecting no resistance from one scared scientist. They're bipedal? Taemin asked quietly. Nari was pressed against his back, arms locked around his waist. Yes. Taller than humans. Forearms, armored exoskeleton. Natural weapons on their forearms. But they also carry plasma weapons. Plasma does not work well in this cold. Taemin smiled. It was not a nice smile. They're about to learn that. He had positioned his equipment carefully around the tent's perimeter. The krill could not see the traps in the storm. Could not detect them with sensors because they registered as normal research gear. That was the advantage of being underestimated. Nobody expected the research scientists to fight back. The krill came within range. Taemin triggered the first trap. His seismic charge launcher fired not at the krill but at the ice beneath its feet. The explosive charge cracked the surface. The alien stumbled. Before it could recover, Taemin hit it with the sample preservation spray. The liquid froze on contact. It was designed to instantly preserve geological samples at -200 degrees. It worked just as well on krill armor. The alien's legs locked up, covered in thick ice. It tried to raise its weapon. Taemin triggered the second trap. A thermal barrier, the kind used to protect equipment from temperature swings, shot forward on compressed air. It hit the krill like a battering ram and knocked it backward into a snowdrift. The alien struggled but could not get up. Its legs were still frozen. Its weapon had fallen somewhere in the snow. Is it dead? Nari asked. Her voice shook slightly. No, but it's not going anywhere. Taemin was already moving, pulling them both behind a ridge of ice. The others know where we are now. They'll be more careful. His sensors showed 2 more heat signatures converging on their position. These 2 were smarter. They were using cover. Moving in coordinated patterns. One would advance while the other provided overwatch. Professional tactics. Taemin had to move. Staying in one place meant getting surrounded. But moving with Nari attached to him was difficult. They had to coordinate every step. She was not used to this kind of movement. She stumbled and he had to catch her. Sorry, she gasped. I'm trying. You're doing fine. Just match my rhythm. He pulled her around another ice formation. Left foot, right foot. Like a dance. I don't know human dances. Neither do I. We'll improvise. A plasma bolt hit the ice next to them. The superheated projectile punched a clean hole through the frozen wall before the cold sapped its energy. Close. Too close. These 2 krill were better shots than the first. Taemin returned fire with his repurposed geological scanner. He had modified it to release a burst of compressed gas mixed with ice particles. It was not deadly, but at this temperature and wind speed it was like a shotgun blast of frozen needles. One of the krill cried out. The sound was not human, but pain was universal. Your heart rate is very high, Nari said against his back. Are you okay? I'm fine. That's normal for combat. This is normal for you? More normal than it should be. Taman triggered another trap. One of his atmospheric analyzers released a cloud of vaporized liquid. In the extreme cold, it created an instant fog bank. The krill's sensors would be useless for the next few minutes. How's the crystal? Stable. Your cardiovascular rhythm is perfect. There was wonder in her voice. How are you fighting while keeping so calm? Who said I'm calm? I'm terrified. But I'm used to being terrified and working anyway. They moved through the fog. Taman's advantage was that he knew this terrain. He had mapped every ridge and valley around his camp. The krill were operating blind. He led Nari through a narrow channel between two ice walls. It was barely wide enough for both of them. One of the krill appeared at the far end of the channel. 4 arms, armored like Nari had described, taller than a human by at least a foot. Its weapon came up fast. Taman was faster. He triggered the trap he had placed in this channel specifically. A power cell overloaded and exploded. Not a big explosion, just enough to crack the ice walls on both sides. The channel collapsed. Tons of ice and snow filled the space between Taman and the krill. The alien disappeared under the avalanche. Did you kill it? Nari sounded shocked. Maybe. Probably just buried it. Taman was already moving again. Your people really don't fight, do you? No, violence is... She struggled for words. We don't, we never. This is horrible. Welcome to the human experience. We've been doing horrible things to each other for tens of thousands of years. Another plasma bolt hit near them. The third krill had flanked around. Taman pulled Nari down behind a snowbank. We're very good at it. The problem was running out of tricks. He had a limited number of traps. Limited equipment. The krill had better weapons and better armor. In a straight fight, Taman would lose, but he did not need to win. He just needed to survive until the storm passed and he could call for help. There's a fourth one, Nari said suddenly. She was reading his sensor pack over his shoulder. The ship. Someone stayed with the ship. They're moving now. Coming to help the others. 4 on 1. Well, 4 on 2, but Nari could not fight. The odds were getting worse. Taman checked his remaining equipment. 1 more seismic charge. 2 power cells. The freeze spray was almost empty. His atmospheric analyzer was dry. We need to get back to the tent, he decided. Better defenses there. They ran. It was clumsy and awkward. Nari kept pace as best she could, but they were tied together. Every movement had to be coordinated. Taman felt her slip. He caught her. Kept moving. His lungs burned in the cold air. His legs ached. But he did not stop. A krill appeared ahead of them. The one from the ship, bigger than the others. More armor. A larger weapon. This one looked like a commander. It said something in a harsh, clicking language. The translator did not have krill in its database. Taman did not need a translation. The meaning was clear. Surrender or die. He looked at the krill. Looked at its weapon pointed at his chest. Looked at the confident stance of a professional hunter who thought it had won. You know what the problem with you guys is? Taman said. He knew the krill could not understand him. He did not care. You think humans are weak because we're not naturally armored. Because we don't have claws or forearms or thick skin. You think we're easy prey. The krill clicked something, probably telling him to shut up. Taman smiled. It was a hard smile. The kind soldiers wore before a desperate charge. But we're not weak. We're persistent, we adapt, and we're absolutely crazy when we're protecting something. He triggered his last seismic charge. Not at the krill, at the ice cliff above the krill. And we really don't like bullies. The explosion cracked the cliff face. Ice and snow came down in a massive slide. The krill looked up. Its eyes widened. It tried to dodge. Not fast enough. The avalanche buried it in seconds. Taman pulled Nari into a protected alcove as the ice slide roared past them. When it settled, the area was transformed. The ground level had risen by 10 feet. The krill commander was somewhere under all that frozen debris. You buried it alive, Nari breathed. She sounded horrified. That's so cruel. It'll dig itself out eventually. Taman was breathing hard. His body ached. He had pushed himself hard and the cold was getting to him. Come on. Let's get back to the tent before the others regroup. They made it back. Taman sealed the airlock and cranked up the heat again. His hands were shaking. Delayed reaction from the adrenaline. He sat down heavily. Nari sat with him, still holding on, still maintaining the contact needed for the crystal. 3 of them are down, he said. 1 frozen. 1 buried in the channel. The commander under a small mountain. The fourth is the one I hit with the freeze spray and thermal barrier. It might still be mobile. You fought 4 professional hunters and won. Nari's voice carried a mix of awe and horror. Your people are terrifying. My people are survivors. Big difference. Taman checked his monitors. The storm was weakening, maybe another 6 hours before it cleared enough for communication. He looked at his dwindling supplies and his minimal remaining equipment. We need to move before they recover. The main research station is 20 kilometers east. We can make it if we move during the last phase of the storm. 20 kilometers? Across ice? In a storm? While staying in physical contact? Nari stared at him. That's impossible. No, Taman said. That's just difficult. Humans do difficult things all the time. Usually because someone told us we couldn't. He started gathering supplies for travel. Rest now. We move in 4 hours. Outside, the storm continued. Inside, Nari watched the human prepare for another impossible task. She was beginning to understand why her people's database had flagged humans as a species of interest. They were not the strongest or the fastest. They were not naturally adapted to extreme environments. They had no special biological weapons, but they had something else. Something that made them dangerous in ways the galaxy was still learning to understand. They had stubborn persistence, crazy bravery, and a complete inability to accept the word impossible. The Krill had learned that lesson today. Tomorrow, the ice itself would learn it as they crossed 20 kilometers of frozen waste while maintaining physical contact.